needed.
Well, let's talk about it because Tottenham were not really exercising yesterday in the first half. At least they were 3-0 down away to Everton. You haven't actually lost there. I saw the record before. You've got a great record at
since
Goodison
David
Park.
Moyes. He was last.
Exactly,
last
and now
time
he's done it again. But to be 3-0 down, you made. Well, in the group chat before the game, you said, watch Dominic Calvert-Lewin scored today. He hasn't scored since September. Dr. Tottenham. You had him moving like R9 in the box.
You'll never see Calvert-Lewin ever play like that ever again.
No.
Ever. He probably haven't played that way since 2012.
Yeah.
Let's be real. Honestly, I called it because I know my team.
You did say it.
I know my team.
He's going to score.
I think I predicted maybe 1-0 the other day, and I think that was wishful thinking. Look, I know we say about the injuries, we can't always use it as an excuse, and I'm not actually going to use that as an excuse, really. But what I will say is when you only have 11 fit players, first team players, the whole bench was kids, aside from Richarlison and I guess Reguilon. I mean, what good's that going to do? So it's hard, right? Because you've only got 11 fit players. I sent you the team that was everyone that's out, right? Mad. Okay, so you got to have some context to things. It's not just all black and white. What I would say is he tried a new system. I tweeted before the game being like Archie Gray in midfield, like so excited to see this. And it actually he wasn't in midfield. Like he was in this weird kind of like back three, which we've never done before. Like, and I listened to what he said after, and he was like, tried to do something different with the personnel he had available. Obviously didn't work. Because people have always been like, try something different, try something new. And I think that's just, a bit of a Hail Mary trying to do something with the players available. Obviously quite clear it didn't work. Going to Goodison, even if it's under Sean Dyche or whoever's there, it's a tough place to go, even if Spurs usually win there. It's always a tough ground to go to. The way that Spurs got bopped off that pitch was unacceptable. Even with the 11 that was out there, it's unacceptable. Yeah, there's 3 18-year-olds in that team. But everyone else, there's some senior players in that. Dragusin, the way his agent was talking up and moved to Real Madrid, mate,
Real Madrid?
Real Madrid?
Real Oviedo, maybe.
I think that's actually being like rude to them anyway. Yeah. Like, honestly, mate, the fact he's got to move to Spurs, like, it's only downwards from here.
I would have said, are you for real? For real. Let alone Real Madrid. Are you for real?
Yeah. Here? So it's
sausage.
There's that.
Lucky be at Spurs.
There's that when Archie Gray, bless his soul, has actually been he's been the better defender who's not a defender, right? It's an unacceptable performance. It is unacceptable, and players need to also take accountability for the level of performance that they are putting in. I understand that there's no time for rotation. I understand the fact that there's no one available. I understand they're playing every 3 days. And I said this after the North London derby, like when I saw Solanke, he looked knackered. Kulusevski looked knackered the other night as well. I get all that, but it's your job. It's your job at the end of the day, right? And that performance was absolutely unacceptable. One of the worst I've ever seen of Spurs. And I think I sit here every 18 months or maybe even in between that time
Everton
saying
were playing out from the back.
They were playing out from the back. They had time. They had space. It was like a training game at times, the way they were pinging it about to each other. No one closing down, nothing. They just were all over the place.
As well.
Missed loads. Like I said, Calvert-Lewin will never have an easier game than that.
He should have scored 4.
Great goal from him.
And
I'm not gonna get on the back of Archie Gray for scoring an own goal. Like not gonna do that. Ange, everybody knows I've still been Angin. And in a way, I still am Angin, which I know some people might say is crazy, but I still am Angin because the problems actually are, like I've always said, go way beyond Ange. And that's why I'm kind of like, all right, sack him, fine. What, you're going to give me Ryan Mason for the rest of the season? Great. I'd rather have Ange. There's nothing that can change here. Pep could come in, it would change nothing. Klopp could come in, it would change nothing. Ancelotti, nothing. So Ange has to hold it in terms of the results, because at the end of the day, I said it at the back end of last season, the buck will always stop with the manager. If you're not getting results, you're going to get sacked. Yeah. And that will happen. And it's just, he's a dead man walking now, right? And the fact that they got it back to 3-2, maybe that's why he's still in a job. Yeah. If we get beat by Hoffenheim on Thursday, if we get beat by Leicester, he will be gone. He will be out that door.
Before the semi-final second leg.
Yeah, because I think the situation is you can't, being 3-0 down at Everton at half-time is a sackable offence in itself, right? Yeah. If something else happens against Leicester, if it happens against Hoffenheim, maybe not so much Hoffenheim, but the cups are really what's keeping him in.
But the Europa League's massive for you, because I still think you're going out the Carabao, to be honest. I know you're 1-0 up, but Liverpool away, it's just, I just can't see it. I can't see Tottenham going there and not capitulating at Anfield with the crowd and the atmosphere.
Also, you're only 1-0 up.
Yeah.
You're only 1-0 up.
It's not enough.
In 10 minutes, you could be
3-0 down. So, it's really hinging on what happens in the Europa
Isn't
League.
this what happened with Mourinho, right? He gets to a final and you sack him just before
But this is why I still don't think we should sack him, because do I think Ryan Mason could come in and do a better job? No. Is he going to be able to, are Spurs going to be able to pry someone like Iriola or Marco Silva or
Nuno ain't going back there.
Or Thomas Frank out of their clubs at this moment in time? Of course not. And to be honest with them, I would honestly, this is a message to all of you: stay where you are. Don't ruin your careers. Stay where you are.
Damn.
Stay at Bournemouth. Stay at Fulham. Stay at Brentford. Trust me. Don't go and do it. Do not do it to yourself. Stay where you are.
You'd have to look at like a McKenna, someone there's a jump.
Could have been Potter.
Potter turned us down twice.
Yeah,
fair enough. You heard through the TV, you've heard on the highlights, you've seen clips online of the fans obviously protesting about Daniel Levy, but at the end of the game we saw Son coming over, apologising to the fans, giving it all that. Ancelotti was there. Ancelotti, you wish it was Ancelotti was there. He was at Everton. Postecoglou was there. I mean, I'm not going to repeat what they were saying about them, but it didn't sound good, and it's toxic as you can get.
It's toxic, but it's a different way of toxic to what it was with Conte and what it was to Jose. It's not necessarily toxic about, like, people, the fan base is a little bit split, I think, because there's people like me who are like, well, what's the point? I've seen this with 14 managers previous. What's the point of sacking him? Like, when ultimately the problem stems from the top. It's negligence at the highest level and a loser mentality from the highest level. When you've got a chairman and a board that are a bunch of losers, it's going to trickle down, and it always has been the way. So nothing is ever going to change while they're there. And I'll always say with Daniel Levy, absolutely commend you for being a businessman. Well done. Balancing the books. The Big Six. Getting us into the Big Six. But at some point, you've got to start acting like a big club, right? You have to start doing that. And when I say Spurs have spent money, they have. But what they do is they always take the lesser option. They'll go for option D, E, rather than go for A or B. And you can see that. That's why Spurs are how they are. Got loads of young youngsters. Archie Gray, great signing. Bergvall, great signing. Jed Spence, finally free. Love to see it. Kulusevski, Solanke, happy with that. Mickey van der Ven, there's a spine of the team there. But when you've got senior players, someone like a Basuma, who I've told you for ages ain't it. When you've got someone like Maddison, who's a flair player, who's a luxury player, we cannot.
He's a wicked player.
We cannot afford to carry people. No. Son as well. Son should have been an upgrade in the summer. I said to you, let him stay there. Let him be captain. Let him have the contract extension. That is fine. But Son has not been at it for a long time. Scored in the derby, fine. Doesn't take away what I see on an eye test for the last 18 months. Amazing servant to the club, legend of the club, great. But in the summer, it was time to upgrade. When you've got Eze coming and watching games, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to know.
Yeah.
It doesn't take a rocket scientist, does it? To know what Spurs' weak points are. A six, a proper six, which I guess Archie Gray will eventually be, or Bergvall, and when they finally get put in their position. Bentancur again had a 7-game suspension. Unfortunate again, been injured. He was injured. Never really was the exact same after the ACL. You've got to move on. You've got to move on, and you've got to back your team, back your managers accordingly.
But hold on.
But with the group of players that you said that are good players. I agree with you. They're in a better position, squad building wise, to Man United. Even though they've slacked on like Timo Werner's and I still don't think Brennan Johnson was the right move. He's a counter attacker, not really a ball dominant type attacker. Richarlison is a lot of money. That's a big L. You could look at that Tottenham team and say, right, 2-3 positions and a little bit more depth and there's
just
something there.
There's still something there. Quality.
You know what he did the Levy thing, right? He has spent a lot of money in recent years, isn't it? Like,
but I've just told you.
I think I saw the other day that they've spent more money, Spurs, since Arteta's come in. Arteta spent less money than what Spurs have spent. They got a brand new stadium. They've got a brand new training ground. Both of those probably the best in the country. I've been to both.
You're not listening to what I'm saying.
Let me just finish. Yeah, he went out and he brought you in a manager in Jose Mourinho that's won everywhere. That didn't work. He got Nuno. That didn't work. We've seen what Nuno's doing now at another club when he's been given a bit more time. He brought in another winning manager in Conte that I think, listen, I remember at the time, like, a lot of us as Arsenal fans were like, that's a great appointment. You know what I mean? Worried about this because they might win things. That didn't work. He's then gone and said, all right, let me go and try and bring in some sort of different styles, sort of energetics, someone who can come up in Ange. That hasn't worked. He's tried everything. He has tried a lot of things.
You tell me.
Hold on a second. I agree. One second.
What's the common denominator?
1 second. You can turn around. I do understand that there are some things that he's definitely. Like, I look at it at the moment, and I'm like, well, if you're having so much problems in defence, why in the January transfer window have they not bought a defender? I don't understand.
Exactly.
That's really weird to me. But you can't say he's done nothing, can you?
Rob, all those managers you just mentioned, and the other 10 that came before that, right? The other 10 that came before that. What's the common denominator? Because it can't be Conte and it can't be Jose because these are proven winners. It weren't Poch.
I think it's a mixture between Levy and just the fabric, the DNA of
the DNA of the club. Who creates the DNA of a football club?
And you're right, it is.
And
Levy,
it's not just on Daniel Levy. He's just essentially like, yes, okay.
That's what I'm saying.
He's a mouthpiece. It's on Joe Lewis. It's on Enoch. It is a systematic problem at the core of Tottenham Hotspur.
What do they need to do then?
I told you already. Change the name. Change the badge. Change everything. Change everything. No, you didn't change the badge enough. You still got the chicken on top of the basketball. I told you. This is football, not basketball. Change everything. Rip it up.
What they need to do. Look, and I know people say, well, the grass ain't always greener. Okay, cool. I still want them at my club. Will always want them at my club. Because
they're not going to go.
No, of course not. They've just actually they've furthered their grip on it. They put it in the small section of the website saying that they've actually increased their stake in the club.
Oh, lovely.
So what do they need to do? Because as I said, I've named out some big things they've done. Big brand new training ground, the best training ground in the country.
Match the ambition on the pitch. It ain't difficult. Match the ambition. Well, it is difficult when you don't want to open your wallet. God, there's moths that fly on the wrong.
Do you know what the meme is?
She's saying that
open your wallet, but the lights are on. Yeah. There's food in the fridge.
Can we get a Mackey's? There's nuggets in the freezer.
You've got a roof over your head, don't you? Stadium's looking good, doesn't it?
I gave this analogy yesterday. I gave this analogy on TalkSport yesterday, right? If you've got a Ferrari, how do you treat your Ferrari? Good petrol, you look after it, you make sure it's always nice, it's clean, it's functioning. You want to look after it, right? You want to nurture it, you want to love it. How would you maybe treat a Ford? Not with the same love that you treat a Ferrari, quite possibly.
Rally racing.
If you want to be a Ferrari club, a Ferrari owner, and you want to give all of that on the pitch, if you've got a beautiful Ferrari that's sitting there on the outside, but you don't ever clean it, it looks like a piece of shit inside. What's the point of having a Ferrari? And it was something that Pochettino said 5.5 years ago. You can have a gorgeous house, but if you've got horrible furniture, that's what people think about. Well, lovely from the outside, but what is it on the inside? They do spend money. They buy young players, which is fine. I like the fact that we buy young players and want to try and develop them and nurture them and grow them. I like that. But you also have to have quality around that. You have to have experience around that, a good mentality around that. And where Spurs will always cut corners, for example, a Timo Werner, that loan never deserved to be extended, but it was the cheaper option. It's cheaper to keep Timo Werner rather than go and spend money on a player.
Yeah.
It's cheaper to do that. Timo Werner absolutely shit himself against Tamworth. Absolutely shit himself against. And this is not just on Timo Werner, by the way.
I wonder what division he should actually be playing in. Seriously.
Bundesliga 2.
Is it even football?
He's not better than João Pedro. He's not better than Mateta. He's not better than Chris Wood. He's not better than any of these strikers. I honest to God want to see this guy in the Championship. But I want to see it.
I just want to listen, and this is not even a Spurs hate thing, right? Is it that Spurs, the expectations of the fans are too high? That maybe the fans and the club itself...
What are they expecting?
Just at this moment in time...
A cup.
Need to lower down the not the standards, the expectations, because those clubs you're naming out, Brighton, Bournemouth, they've spent way less.
Well, I've got the numbers here, Rob.
But it's the way in which you recruit.
Money spent by top six. Most money spent since Arteta took charge, December 2019. Number 1, Chelsea, 1.7 billion. Number 2, Man United, 963 million. Number 3, Tottenham, 869 million. Arsenal, 4th, 792. Man City 755 and 6th is Liverpool 545 since 2019.
Yeah, so you've spent a lot of money, Abby. So
more than Liverpool.
But forget about Liverpool. We haven't spent money.
She's not saying that. She's saying they've spent it on the wrong players.
Club soon.
What I'm saying is, forget about Liverpool, forget about Arsenal, forget about Chelsea, forget about United, right? And that money's not done nothing for United, has it, right? But I'm on about teams like Bournemouth, Brighton, Fulham,
Newcastle.
Right? Villa. Newcastle. Now, is it that, obviously at those clubs, the expectations are not as high as they are at Spurs?
Well,
right?
I think with Spurs...
But should it be just lower, just say, right, we're on a build now. Let's lower it a little bit and...
We're always on a build. Been on my building my whole life.
When were they not building?
I tell you what, we've actually come full circle because this is the Spurs that I grew up watching.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, mid to lower in the table.
It's not mid, it's low.
Well, I'm saying mid to lower. This is 90 Spurs that I'm
mid
watching.
is 10th.
That we've actually come full circle. And this is why I say, I can totally commend him as a businessman. Absolutely. But in terms of being involved in the transfer dealings, having your nose in every single pie that's going, get out, mate. Get out of it.
I mean,
when you talk about Brighton, you talk about Brentford, you talk about even Forest, the way that they do business, whether it is on a Moneyball metric or they buy players that are cheap, and if there's not so much loss in it. I'm not saying Spurs necessarily need to do that. They're then past that point of doing that. You can buy the young players, but you also need to have spend the money to buy someone that is like a world class player now, or someone that is a good player that you've got from another
club. Do you know what the problem is, Abbi?
With Liverpool, just one more thing. With Liverpool, when you came to Wembley and we beat you 4-1, massive sliding doors moment that
for both clubs.
Both clubs.
Yeah.
Beat Liverpool 4-1, okay? At that point, I think Klopp had been there...
A year and a half,
right? You then went and did business when you maybe got Andy Robertson for 8 mil, like cheap business all around. But what you did was go and buy talent... proven talent, or someone like an Alisson, someone like a Virgil, someone like a Salah, to build that quality in and around those young, inexperienced players that you had, and that is the problem with Spurs. Then they don't do that.
Abbi, here's my point, right? And I agree with you. Everything you said, I agree with. You have still spent money. You're saying they've spent it on the wrong players, but if I'm a Luis Diaz, right, and I'm at Porto in 2022, and Tottenham knock on the door, and you're not really hearing anyone else knocking on the door, you go to sign the contract. And then you hear Liverpool after you. That's not really Tottenham's fault. He's going to Liverpool because he thinks he'll be more successful at Liverpool. So even though you're saying you're buying your plan D and E and F, the plan A, B and C players, with all due respect, they don't want to play for Tottenham. But you have to have
more ambition. And Harry Kane, I get that, but Harry Kane always said, I will stay at this club as long as they're matching my ambition, it's moving in the right direction.
And I don't blame him.
Since Pochettino has left, since they sacked Pochettino, which still we're seeing the repercussions of doing that, 5.5 years later, and everyone can say, "Oh, it went stale." It did go stale because we had 2 seasons away from home. We had 2 windows without any signings, and we all took that on the chin because we were like, "We're moving into a new stadium. That's fine." He's earned the right because constantly finishing in the top 4, managing to get to a Champions League final on our hope and a prayer. He deserved the right to then be backed. 3 months later, he gets sacked because he's wanted to fill a fetish he had with Jose that he couldn't get him at the time when he wanted him all the way back in 2000 and whatever. So that's that. Then if you're going to have a manager like Jose or Conte, who's a proven winner, then they need players that are also proven winners. I think that it's a mixture of everything at Spurs. It's about the mentality of the players. It's about mentality of the owners, mentality of a manager. It's all of the above. It is a complete combination of just utter crap and utter loser mentality. But that stems from the top. And I reckon if you go and ask any ex-player that ever played at Spurs in the 90s all the way through to present day, they'll tell you there is not an emphasis on winning trophies, which breeds that mentality. When it comes from the board, all they care about is balancing the books and making sure that they get top 4 so they can be sustainable. And that makes them look like the big boys being in the top 4. Go and win something. Go and show your minerals and actually win something.
But the title winners, the difference makers, these Van Dijks, these Alissons, they don't want to move to Tottenham. They don't want to play for Tottenham.
Go and scout better. Go and fight. Go and scout better. Go and scout better.